Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about my post MBA plans. What are my short-term goals and my long-term goals? My hope in this video is that while we're talking about this, you can get a bit of insight on how you are going to answer your own MBA questions, which I believe is probably the most common MBA question throughout all business schools. Tell us about your MBA plans. What are your short-term goals? What are your long-term goals? You'll definitely meet it in most MBA applications, if not all of them. And so what I came down to understand while I was applying through the first cycle, because as some of you might know, those that don't already know, I began applying to business school September 2022. So I did the entire cycle of 2022-2023, and I was able to get a lot of insight about the MBA application process when it comes down to the international applicant perspective. That's why this channel focuses a lot about uh, international applicants, because I found that there are not a lot of resources for international applicants, but a lot of resources out there that can fit any US based citizen, right? Anyway, I digress. Coming back to it, one thing that I was able to understand through my first stint of applying to business school was that when you're answering that question of your post MBA plans, you don't just want to state your goals in a generic way. You want to make the admission committee of the MBA program that is reading it feel like their program is the best opportunity for you, right? I'll take my example. I had always had plans from as far back as I can remember. I've always had plans of being in a leadership position, being the CEO of a business, being being part of the top management of a business. And so I went for MBA programs that had business ethics, good business values, and leadership as a core part of their MBA curriculum. So I was able to express in my essays how learning beyond the class about what it means to be a good business mind, what it means to be a great leader in their community is going to inform me and aid me to be a great business leader tomorrow, right? And you definitely want to do that for each program that you're applying to. Identify the core values of your goals. Go for programs really that fit in with those values, because you are really most likely to be taken for such programs, not just for the top programs. Really look for the programs that fit in with those values. Then you can express those values throughout the different essays that you're writing to them, right? So that being said, part of getting this essay down to the letter is what I found out to be the best way to work backwards. That instead of trying to say, hey, what do I need right now in doing those 2 years of MBA? What will I do over the 5 years following it? And then what will I do 20 years down the line? I found out that, okay, it's better, at least easier for me to think about where I want to be 20, 25 years down the line, and take that and say, okay, this is where I need to be 5 years, 7 years following my MBA in order to be there, right? And once I know where I need to be 7 years following my MBA, I have a better understanding or appreciation of what I need to get out of my MBA program, right? So practically what it meant for me was that long term, I knew that I wanted to participate in the boom of the African startup ecosystem. I wanted to be part of those people that help elevate the African economy. I strongly believe that part of that elevation, or at least that elevation, is going to happen partly and majorly because of the way African startups are going to transform the continent and the world as a whole. We have a lot of untapped potential here in Africa, and all we need are the right opportunities, the right people, the right eyeballs, and the right skill and the right skills and talents. That's something I really believe in, and I want to be part of those that transform this ecosystem. 20-25 years down the line, I want to be someone that's brought in to transform to turn around the state of a startup, move the startup from a stage where they had 50 employees, one city, one country, to 6,000, 60,000 employees, 10 countries, 15 countries, and they are booming across the world, worth over $1 billion, right? That's where I want to be 10, 15, 20 years, 25 years down the line. That's what I want to do. That's why I want to fit in. So I understand that, and I'm able to appreciate that. Well, before getting there, one thing I will need the network and the skills primarily. I will need to know the right people that I can work with if I'm ever to build my own agency, or if I'm ever to call in on people in different industries, different walks of life that know a lot about their own stuff. I will need to I will need to have the right network. Secondly, I would personally need to have the right skills. If I'm talking about organizational transformation, I will need to have the skills for that. If I'm talking about investor matchmaking, putting startups in contact with the right investors and actually helping them to leverage their best features in order to raise the sufficient capital that they need. I will need to have the financial skills, the business development skills, the marketing skills, the strategy skills that are required for me to be able to achieve that. Right. So I understand that, and I'm able to appreciate that the easiest way, at least one of the ways that at least I find to be the easiest to get all of these skills and to build that network would be to enter the consulting industry, but not just any consulting industry. Enter the consulting industry in Africa. Why Africa? I want to understand how business is being conducted right now and over the following years in Africa. I want to know how big corporations function when it comes down to the Africa, because the when it comes down to Africa, because the African ecosystem is not the same as the European ecosystem or the American ecosystem or the Middle Eastern startup ecosystem, right? So I want to know how business is being conducted by big corporations and startups alike. I want to understand what are the policies that govern some areas, some zones, or across Africa, and I want to be able to use that now to inform my decisions and my work habits and my experience down the line, right? So I'm looking at entering the consulting industry and start working in Africa for African firms. So 7 years into my MBA, my MBA degree, that's where I want to be. I want to be at a stage where I've worked with a lot of companies in Africa, across Africa. I've understood, I've met a good number of people, and I've been able to build on the various skills that I will need down the line. So come back down to how I will need my MBA program, my MBA experience to fit into that. I want an MBA program that is going to allow me, or at least give me the best chance to be able to relocate back to the African continent upon graduation. I want an MBA program that is going to facilitate my entrance into the consulting industry. I want an MBA program that is going to teach me a lot about what it means to be a good business leader, what it means to be a great leader, right? What it means to be an ethical business mind, right? And understanding all of these little bits, now I am able to flesh out the answer to the question, tell me about your short-term and your long-term goals. Well, following my MBA graduation, following my MBA degree, one thing I'm really peculiar about is entering the consulting industry. I would love to come back and work for one of the top consulting firms on the African market, work with them to understand how business is being done across Africa with African businesses and African startups. 5 to 7 years after after having started working for any of those firms, I will be able to use the skills and the network I've built while there to start my own agency or my own firm to consult for small but high potential startups on the African market to help them transform or turn around from being small businesses to billion dollar businesses through organizational transformation and investor matchmaking. In sum, that's where I want to be. That's the statement, at least that's the answer that I'm going to give to any MBA program that asks me that question right now. And if I get the follow-up question, how does this business program tie in with what you want to do? I'm able to do that because I'm able to link the fact that I want to be able to create great business minds, ethical business practices, have good leadership qualities, right? Build that culture across many organizations in Africa, and all of that will stem from what I get right at your MBA program. That's how I'm going to answer. And on a personal note, that's just my own personal plans, short terms and long term goals. I hope this helps you answer your own question of what is your long term and what is your short term goal for your MBA. And hopefully that does, in which case you're able to continue peacefully and adequately with all your essay writing. If you are interested in learning more about the MBA application process, please stick around. There are many more videos to come beyond those that have already been published. If you want to read more about applying to an MBA program in the US as an international applicant, check the description box below. I've linked my blog where there are a ton of articles there. You'll be able to get a lot of insight on what my first application experience was like, tips and tricks that I've been able to learn along the way, and best practices for each step of the application that I've been able to compile. Use them to your advantage. Hopefully you'll get your admission this cycle and you're on to pursuing your goals. See you in the next video. Peace.